Alrighty. Good morning, evening, and afternoon, depending where you are. Another fine day in lockdown in the UK, working on some open source software. We are going to be working on Apache NiFi today. I got this Boss new hoodie. So happy with it. Thing like the print could be slightly better, but they're hard to come by, so I'm just going to enjoy it, be happy in my warmth. In today, we are going to be pushing forward on the bug around authentication in NiFi. We will check out what is happening with any other some extra PRs that have come in and some new issues, so we don't have to worry about that. So I think that'll be good as well. We'll see how far we get. But I really want to get this authentication bug nailed. So we have got NiFi itself in our browser. Got this all set up and ready to go. There's an old build here I'm just going to remove to clean up things a little bit. We did a PR on this branch, fix authentication, that I've got here that you can't see because I'm in the way. Fix authentication. And I've just seen that Ivan's popped some notes on it. So let us go and have a look at that notification, see what we've got. I put this PR up a few days ago, which has a whole bunch of notes about the investigation I was doing into the authentication issues, where they essentially an anonymous user was being submitted instead of the actual credentials you had supplied. And we have improved things, so we can see here his access is working in general. Non-anonymous, the identity is being correctly set when he's talking to registry and when he's talking to NiFi, so the service accounts are there, that is good. List buckets works. Now that is a native registry call. Let's go and confirm that. So if we go into NiFi and versioning and have a look at list buckets. Have I mistyped that? List registry buckets. Like there's other kinds of buckets. Yeah, so this is using the registry buckets API call. So that's cool, that seems like that's working. Import flow version, I think uses a NiFi call. We load the encoded flow, we read it in, and then we assert that it is a version flow snapshot. We then run create flow, and then get flow and bucket. Okay, so where is he getting an error here? Just get straight into this, see what we get. I'm just checking chat as well. Make sure that I'm not missing any messages as we go, but it's looking good. Get NiFi, API system diagnostics, etc. He's got the registry bucket listing, that has worked. It's got unauthorized for NiFi registry swagger JSON. Oh, maybe I have, maybe I need to fix that. Because that will cause problems if that's not working. I may have introduced that when I changed the. Let me just copy this. Or I'll check it out later. May have impacted the registry swagger lookup by the auth changes as well. We'll need to test it. Now let's just see if I've remembered my formatting correctly. I think it's a triple doot. Yeah. So let me just add that comment. Now let's keep looking at what he's got here. So get registry buckets, looks good. Get system died, good. That failed. Unauthorized. NiFi versioning, utils. Yeah. User identity anonymous. So versioning, yeah, so this is to validate versioning support. So I think that that is actually very relevant, what has failed there. because this is the call that's being made. Validate parameters of versioning support. If we go look for that, which is a utils function. It enforces min version on registry, which down here returns that result. But doing that there, check version. So let's go check out version. Wow, I did a lot of indirection on this with Otto. I think I may have over-engineered it slightly. That's cool. We'll have a look. So this does a thing where it goes and for older versions of NiFi registry, we don't have a call that gives us the version of the registry that you're talking to. So with NiFi, you can do a system status call and it says, I am version NiFi, 1.12.1 or whatever. With registry, there isn't actually a call for that. So what we do is we grab the Swagger JSON definition, which it does publish, and then we pass out the info version, which is published at the top of the Swagger, as a way of getting that. But that itself is an authenticated call, and so when I've changed this authorization and authentication stuff, it'll need to be included here for it to work. So let's get a test for that. So this is my test environment. Let's go and get our secure stuff going. Right, so that's secure registry. Oh, hey. Cool, thanks for dropping in, Ivan. Yeah, I think, no, you have spotted something that I missed. If you've only just caught up on the stream, I'm pretty sure in here, this is actually the problem, where it's saying, I'm trying to retrieve the swagger.json, I'm getting unauthorized. That's because that's not using the standard command structure, because registry doesn't actually have a call for this. And so what I've done is I've done a hack, terrible hack, which fetches a Swagger JSON and passes it out. But that itself will need to pass in the authentication controls, or it'll fail. So we stood up a secure registry here. I wonder if I should just run that locally to bypass certificate. Yeah, let me run up a local one as well, just to bypass certificate issues. Resources, Docker, Cure. Okay, now that means that if I go here and I go to Docker, secure, have a look at the compose here. I've got my secure NiFi and my secure registry. My secure registry is on 18.443. So if I go to localhost :1844 / NiFi registry, I should be asked, no, is that wrong? 18443, and maybe it's just registry API. Man, it's been a while since I've had to type some of this stuff out by hand. Oh no, it is NiFi registry, that's right. And it's saying, maybe it hasn't come up yet. Oh, I've got a lot of shit running on my system. Docker PS, yeah, it's probably just not up yet. Probably have to wait a minute. Again, still not loaded. We'll load up the secure NiFi while we're at it. What did I put NiFi on? Just 8443. No, localhost doesn't like that either. This is where I remember why I found debugging a whole bunch of this stuff. Yes, thank you, Ward. We'll go kill some mans later. I don't even think I've actually got a Fortnite account. God. I've been playing Genshin Impact for my RPG needs lately. Okay. Let's see if these are live. 2 minutes should be fast enough for that to come up. I'll tell you what, Ward. I'll come play Fortnite with you when you start playing Fortnite. How's that? We'll drink whiskey and shoot mans. That's what people are doing these days. Invalid HTTP response is kind of a weird thing to get from NiFi, even. Oh, there we go. Just took a while to come up. Right, so this should ask me to authenticate. No. Ah, I'm logged in as anonymous, so I can log in. Now, see if the anonymous user has access to the Swagger diff. It's just /swagger/swagger.json. Let's duplicate. We don't need NiFi at the moment. Let's duplicate this tab. Let's change the endpoint. Too many slashes. Too many. Right, not found. Oh, that'll be NiFi registry API /swagger.json, probably. Like that. Cool. So we have got the same error that Ivan got, which is good. Error duplicated. Yes. You play Fortnite all the time with your son. Okay, so you would smash me out. Like, send me some tips. Maybe I can get skilled up. It would actually be fun to hang out with friends over the internet because COVID and lockdown and stuff. Yeah. Internet gaming. Yay! It will save us all from going outside, which may be healthy. Now, I wonder if I'm authenticated and then I make this call, it will work fine. That would be interesting. So let's go here and let us log in. And these are pre-configured with just a default Active Directory. Cool, man. Yeah, deal. Send me some details on actually how to get good or vaguely educated in it, and then like we'll set up a time. It'll be fun. Right. So this is like a default LDAP interface that I've got it hooked into. I am now logged in as Nobel. So now I wonder if I can switch to requesting that and it will retain the token. No, it does not. So maybe then I need to supply that as a header, basic auth header. Let's do a test. So easiest way to do a test, Postman, assuming my Postman is not forked, which happens sometimes. It's a bit easier to just add headers and make things work in Postman and fiddle about with them. Just waiting for it to load. Do. Why does it want to be full screen on another screen? Okay, so this is a thing I was working on. Let's open up a new one. So, localhost colon 18443/NiFi registry API /swagger/swagger.json. Let's add a simple auth header. I believe that we should be able to try basic auth for this. May or may not work. Server referring to mouth prompt response. Oh, I probably need to put the full thing in. Like that. Okay, so same error, even with a basic auth. Let's add a authorization token. So let's grab one using NiFi. So import NiFi Very good. And then nifi.config.registry.config.username equals Nobel. Set the password as well. These test services were open to the internet. You can now steal all of my stuff. But they're not, because opening things up to 0.0.0.0/0 is bad, kids, and you should not do it. And actually, if you do it, the Reaper I run on our corporate accounts would stop you anyway. So, don't try it. That would be great. So we should be able to generate a token out of that. There is a utilities command for it. I'm trying to remember what it is. It's in the API client. Let's just go and use that. No, it's not. It's in the configuration module, and it is something like get basic auth token. Excellent. So token equals NiFi. Oh, we'll need to actually log in as well. So nifi.security.set endpoint. No, is it utils? Yeah, cool. All right, so https://localhost 18.18. I need a new keyboard. /NiFi registry. And do not want to log in or generate a thing at the moment. Great. Now I want to generate a token. So NiFi. Registry config.get basic auth token equals. What's our token? We have a token! Yay! Okay, now that is an authorization token or registry. So let's go here. Let's call a bearer token. The bearer token is that. Unable to validate the token. That's not the correct format. I'm never quite sure of the format in Postman. I am sure it's a bearer token. Maybe it is just the token content and not basic. No. How does it look like in... Well, let's just ask the internet. Postman set bearer. Da. Yeah, but it's not actually really saying exactly how to format the token in that field, is it? Authorization and then bearer my token. Yeah, I mean, that I could just do that by hand, I guess, because that is what the code base does when it does this. You look at all settings, it says authorization and then the content of that, but it sets it to bearer. Pretty sure, actually. Let us look at the API client and see what it is doing. Update params for auth. So the key gets set to the value in the header. So, and if we set force basic auth, it just overrides it, which we're not using at the moment. So key gets set to value. Here is our key, which is authorization. The header is the result of that. So it should be authorization is set to that value. So let's go back to Postman. And let's have no authorization header. Let me just set my own. So key is value is that. Do it that way, see if that works. Interesting. Is that because this is overriding it somehow? No auth. Okay. Have another look at how this is supposed to work. So, get basic calls token. That's the response. So authorization equals that is what is submitted in the header. Must be another way to test this. Headers, key, heading, value. If anybody has any good ideas, I am happy to hear them. We could just try and solve it without exactly testing it in that sense. So what we want to do is do this process when it's required. So we would just execute it, really. The key gets set into a part of the API client here, which is not in the API client, in configuration. I think we get the API key set up here. Yeah, so we get API keys are stored. We could just retrieve that if we wanted to, I guess. That would be a pretty easy way to do it, actually. Where is this used? Let's just put that out of the way for now. Yeah, get API key with prefix. We're not actually using that because it's using a basic auth token here for authorization header. And it's not using a full SSL setup either. So, man, there's duplicates in here. Basic authorization. It's because the key is not identical. I should tidy that up at some point. It's another job to do. Man, open source software gets messy over time, I'll tell you what. Oh wait, no, that's every software. Ha ha ha, I'm so funny. Okay, well I hope the tunes are good in the background because I'm rambling at the moment while I think about this. So what we actually need to do is provide any authentication method we have for this to the service. And I wonder if we can just use the sub function that does the auth handling in the API client. So there's the call API. Am I using that here? Yeah, call API. So call API, go back to the API client. Does all the business. It does the header stuff for me. Update params for auth. Yes, yes, very good. I just need to pass an auth param, probably. What do they look like normally? So let's go to one of our API clients, like this. Auth params usually look like that, auth settings. Why don't we just pass that? That might even work. So in our call here, we can say auth settings equals authorization, because we know it's going to be an authorization token, because that is how the registry works. And then that would generate the header if it is available. Then if I need to override to basic auth, it will still do that because that is part of this API client function that the configuration roles is running. Yeah, that would be pretty straightforward then, because it'll just use this in the end anyway if it needs to. So let's give that a test. Let us reset this little environment up. So import NiFi, set our login username and password. Set our endpoint. Then let's do a test call. So NiFi dot registry dot buckets. Oops. Buckets API. Do a list. We just do get buckets. Yeah, pretty sure. No, we don't want a while there. Why have I got a while there? Good. Let's try that. Failed. Self-send, yeah, certificate verify errors. This is a super common problem, which we can get past by turning off things that our local machine doesn't like. So, just tidy this up a little bit while we are doing that. Cool. And then down here in the configurations at the bottom, security configuration, we can enforce, not basic auth, but we can disable global SSL verify, and global SSL host check is also turned off. So now if we try this again, we got there are no buckets. Now, interestingly, you will get no buckets, even if there are buckets, if you don't have permissions. It just returns an empty response. So let's just go and make sure that there is a bucket created. So we'll log in. Please contact your system administrator. I typed that wrong. Oh, I've made that angry somehow. Don't think it will let me create buckets. Yeah, I'm not logged in, not authenticated. Weird that login didn't work. Pretty sure it is Nobel and password. And I have done something to anger it. That's cool. Maybe it doesn't like it that I'm already logged in via the API shouldn't make any issues there. It's pretty hard refresh of that. See what we get when we come back out. I'm already logged in. That's why. Just have to refresh the UI. So let us create a bucket. Call it something very meaningful. We now have a bucket. And let's go and redo that listing and make sure we actually get it back. We do not get it back. So that tells me that the authentication hasn't worked. By default, I need to do a service login. So nifi.security.service login, which is for registry with Nobel and... Now we'll try and list buckets. Yay, look, authentication's working for this interface. But I think it won't work for the Swagger one until we fiddle with it. So we've just changed the Swagger interface, which is this one over here, by including an authorization header request. So let's try now and see if that works. So we can do a... what's the easiest way to do this? Just check if it's got support for... parameters, because that needs to be a particular version. Oh yeah, nifi.utils.validate. Cool, so that's the same error that Ivan was getting. So the change I made hasn't fixed it, but we have duplicated the error, which is a nice thing to have. So we do the registry check and force inversion. It's doing the call API. And it's getting unauthorized or anonymous. I think that is that we have to figure out what we need to do to make this call work. Maybe it's because it's instantiating the API client there as a disposable unit, and I don't think that that's a singleton, so it won't be getting all the other API key and features and things, so it wouldn't have done a service login. So actually what I need to do is fetch the API client that is currently instantiated in the config object. Yeah, so let's do that. I think that will be the case. So let's say client equals NiFi.registry.configuration .api client. If client is none, because it's not instantiated, then we need to throw an error because we're not logged in. So, well, or we could instantiate the client if it's not already instantiated, I guess. But that may still fail. Is that the right way to go about it? Because that's how we do logins otherwise. I think what we'll do is we'll just do a flat instantiation for the instances, because most of the time I don't think this will be a concern. But we can do this. That instantiates the client. Let's just go and check that that is definitely what it does. So go here, we've got our API client. We go to our configuration. It is a singleton, but the client is not just a configuration. It's the API client there is none. Then when is that client instantiated? Happens whenever you make a call to one of the services, whether a logged in call or an unauthenticated call. It doesn't actually matter. It just instantiates it when you make a request. So let's have a look at one of the requests. So it, for any given call, let us look at this call. Here, create extension bundle version, for example. Create extension bundle version with information. It calls this function here with these parameters and various parameters until it gets here. Then it starts setting API client and self. Self is the overall object. So here we go. There's the instantiation. API client equals none. Instantiate configuration. If there is already an API client passed, then use it. Else, it just instantiates the API client. Okay, cool. So we are doing exactly the same thing. It is not a particularly difficult thing. Although we could just get the config. That would work just as well because that would already have it. So let's do it that way. Config equals NiFi dot config dot registry config. That's our config, and then we want to use the API client on that. So we want config dot API client dot call. Why is that complaining? Yeah, that's fine. So if we get here and we go like that, that should be better. So then what this will do is if the API client is already instantiated and it's got all these other parameters like it's being logged in and the token is set and all that sort of stuff, then we will reuse that. If it is not already instantiated, it will be instantiated by the initialization of the will it be instantiated by the config class? No, you'd already have had to have made a call. Otherwise, this would fail. So what we should do is we should check that it's not none. So if config.api client is none, so it's not instantiated, then raise a value error, something like not connected to NiFi registry. Something like that, just as a safety measure. Then we can make the call if the API is present. All right, let's see if that works for us. So we'll rerun these little steps. I can just put this into a test script, I suppose. That might be a good thing to do. Let's get it working first. We set our username and our password. We set our endpoint. We set our service login for a registry. Cool. We do our test read. We want to test buckets. Yeah, so we can test buckets, and then we want to see if we can fetch that. Exactly the same error. How very disappointing. Okay. Enforcement version, check version, enforcement version. So I'm just looking at the details here. It has got the updated code. So use the existing config API client, call the API to return that path as a get method. But I'm not sure it is. So we've got resource path method. I think I need to specify specific header params. There's auth settings and header params get passed in. Let's have a look at how that is called by other functions. So looking here, all params, we're not doing any of that stuff. Local params, not doing any of that stuff. Not worried about these in the collection formats. Path params, we're not doing any of those. Query, header params is an empty dictionary here. And then header params accept application JSON, fine, we don't need that. We don't need a content type. We do have all settings as our list. We pass in all settings. We don't do any callback. These other controls are not necessary. Then that uses that call API function. Let's step into this and have a look. So we call resource path and method. We have used that resource path method. What I might do is I might explicitly start labeling these out. Just make it easier to track for myself. Resource path method, then there is post params, yeah. All settings we do pass, there's no callback. Preload content we've set to false. Very good. Let's just see if there's any other stuff we need to do here. These all look like we have set those, so it should handle this. So let's have a look further into this. So it does call the request. It gets that. Access is denied. User identity anonymous. There shouldn't be any permission that I'm aware of needed to get the swagger.json. Or maybe there is one that I'm not aware of. I wonder if one of the guys is available. Let me just see if someone is available who can answer that. Kevin online. Kevin Doran is not online. Look in the NiFi engineering Slack. See who is around. You might know about this. Suppose I could look in the code base where that's hosted, but it should just be the same authorization token. But that wasn't working in the browser either, was it? So maybe actually I'm on the wrong path here. Maybe, you know, this should work, but it doesn't actually work in the way that I think it does. Let me go to a unauthenticated one and validate that that works. So let's go get our so let's go to unauthenticated NiFi here, HTTP / that IP 18080/NiFi stream. Yep, that is up. So now if I do -API/swagger/swagger.json, and that does respond. This is where we get the version here. See, that one is version 7. So the URI is correct. You go to the registry API and you request that file. But we need that to be done on an authenticated instance. So here's our authenticated one. We are logged in this session. But I think we're going to get anonymous is denied. Maybe there is some authorization. So it's not an authentication issue, but maybe an authorization is needed. We go look at dev mode. I wonder if we can see the headers that are being sent to make sure that that authentication header is going through. Yeah, close that off. Stop recording. Right, so let's refresh this just to make sure that it is going through. That looks like it's going through well. So we've worked with NiFi registry here. See there that that's worked. Request headers being sent. We've got an agent. I don't see the authentication header provided. Anywhere. Was it not shown in this view? Yeah, we know the response, the initiator. Yeah, the header is not sent. I guess it's only sent during login, but then I would expect there to be a token set. Authorization token. Where do you see the authorization token in Chrome here? DevTools. Kind of isn't one present, is there? It's a bit weird. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's kill that header. Go back to authorization. Let's go back to what we know should work, which is a bearer token. We've got that. Let's do a call that isn't to that. So what is our list buckets call? Let's go look at our list buckets call. So buckets API or get buckets. Get buckets. It's just /buckets. That is a very complicated URL to work with. Alright, let's see if this works just with that standard thing. So yeah, that's not an access token that it likes. So bearer token is no good. Okay, so let's say key value add to header. Well, we might be able to just do it that way. So key is authorization, value is I'll probably have to get a fresh one, don't I, for the session. Is it a session key? Ah, Ivan, thanks. So you might need to put bearer instead of basic and postman. Oh, that might make sense. Yeah. Okay, well let's try and do that. That might need to be bearer. I'm not even sure if that token is still valid now. Yeah, I think the token's invalid for the session. I think I need to make a new one. So, means I need to do a login to generate that. But I should be able to do that in... Yeah, it should be a much bigger token, right? That's just the basic auth one. That's after I generate a service log and I can grab the token out of the system. And I don't think a standard basic auth token should be enough for this, which is why I think I'm getting a bit confused on it. Yeah, so I need to do the service log into registry, which will give me back the bearer token, which I can then use to do stuff. Just wondering if it's because there's no permission around accessing the Swagger on a secured registry. Maybe it's just not a thing you're allowed to do, you know? The easiest thing to do would be, let me just drop back into the NiFi Slack channel, see if does anyone know what authentication/auths are required to fetch the swagger.json from a secured registry instance? I think it should be working. In fact, I can put this on the same screen here. There's no need for this to be secret on my secret screen. There we go. There's Slack. I think it should be working, but we are getting access denied. HTMLs. See if any of the guys are around playing around at the moment. It does work on unauthenticated, so we haven't broken that in that sense. We could bypass that call. That call is just testing whether you're on a parameterized environment, but that would kind of kill a whole bunch of functionality for secured environments. We can't do that, and I think that would not be good. And there, to my knowledge, there is no other way of determining the version of registry without just trying the call. I mean, one of the things we could do there is for parameters specifically, just try that call. That's really messy. But it might be sort of more reliable in the long run. So let's have a look at that thought. So this specifically does a hack to try and work out the version, which is a generic way of working out what's going on. What we could do is we can test a call that we know only works at least a certain version. Which is, I don't know, that's kind of not actually that helpful, is it? Like, we might know the parameters work, so we could change it from validating a generic version type to just validating if parameters work. I suppose we could have other calls that validate other things as they are introduced. Is there any other way to do it? Excuse me, coughing. Because this is the only thing that you're getting an error on that I can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this, just put this on a second screen in case somebody responds while we're looking at stuff. Okay, what other options have we got? So that's giving an authorization issue. And it should be working. If it's going to work. I mean, sure, having the right reverb helps and everything. It doesn't ask us for any authentication as well if it's treated as a separate service to the main registry service, because that user is authenticated in that browser session. We then just change where we're pointing to. Let's try and get the token. So let's try and get the bearer token and then use that. So so we can go for nipi.registry.config.api keys. There is our bearer token. Let's see if that works in Postman. Come back, postman. All is forgiven. There we go. So bearer token should be, which may or may not work as well. So let's see if that works. Unable to validate the token. Let's set that to just a standard API key as an authorization header with that value. No buckets, so it's not quite right. Is it like that? Yes. Okay. So it's authorization key with value bearer than the token. So you were right, Ivan. So that we know that that works for that call. Now let us try that with the Swagger call. Fingers crossed. So it does work if you provide the authorization bearer token, if there is one. So interesting that that is not working when we call it in here. So something about the way I've set this up is not triggering it to generate the authorization token as we expect. What if we copied the exact setup for auth settings, which is this? I don't expect that to make a difference, but we can try. Let's reset our session. We can simplify things a lot now, so let's just import and set our endpoint. We're good. We'll do a service login with our username and password, which will generate the bearer token. We can validate that that token has been generated. Configuration.api keys. So there is our bearer token. We can then do our bucket listing to make sure that that is working. So the API client as attached is available to do that. Now let's try our investigation here. Ooh. Ah, it needed both header options to be set. I don't know why. I should know why. I don't know why. Let's have a look why. So, token auth and authorization is a list that is passed to the API client. The API client uses those auth headers. It generates the request as requested. Down here somewhere is prepare auth, update params for auth. So it receives the auth settings, or auth and auth settings. It fetches that from configuration. So it'll do token auth and then authorization. So if we have look at configuration, and yeah, I'm pleased as well, Ivan, that is working. I just want to know why. I know I'm weird. I want to know why. So it should retrieve from this. It should receive token auth first. So that will set an authorization key, and it will get the token auth API key that has been set. And then it'll run authorization, or set the authorization key, and it'll get the authorization key with prefix that has been set. Okay. That's get key with prefix. Get API key with prefix just gets that thing if it exists in the API key entries. Here's our API key entries. Token auth is there. Right, so what is happening is that the login is generating a token auth key, not an authorization key, and that is being populated. So even though I think most of the time registry expects to see authorization, token auth needs to be present. I think that may be, now that I think back to the way it's generated, that may be a bug in the way we handle the Swagger for registry. Because that Swagger comes with I'll briefly show you. I mean, we know what the problem is now, but I'll show you an API diff for registry. So in some registry call like this, so create bucket, for example, there there is an authorization note that says, hey, security is authorization accepts. What that's doing is that is instructing it to follow authorization, which is found later in the document. So if we do find authorization, probably the very last reference to it, security definitions, authorization, straight to it. So expect an API key in an authorization header. Note that it says nothing about token auth. It says an authorization header. If you look at the NiFi one is done differently. Now, the way we generate the client for this has got a bit of a hack in it, which forces that. If we look at the Swagger templates and we look at the API generator. By the way, tell me in chat if this is not interesting, because I can just skip over it. When we generate the auth settings, I had to force it to include a token auth header as a standard in order for that to be generated. Because the authorization head string, if you like, as a key, was not working, whereas token auth was recognized by the system and just worked out of the box. So it is kind of an override that we put in when we first did this, which is like 5 years ago. And so that's why that has to be included. And that's kind of annoying, but it works for both NiFi and registry in that way. So at least then it is functional. So now if we clean up after ourselves a little bit, let's just close some of this extra stuff that's making a bit of a mess. So I think two things here. The first one is we're using the API client that is instantiated for the general session, because it's not a singleton. So rather than instantiating its own one, which won't then have the API key set if you've done a service login, and then with having the token auth and the auth settings, I'll leave it with authorization there just for completeness, like any other standard registry call. It should now work. So let's push that to the PR branch, that one little change, because it's only a little change. Like that. But we'll keep the control for the API client. Actually, I'll just quickly execute against that, because I know that that is, I know that should work, but it's good to test it. So import NiPy. If I do NiPy utils.validate, this should throw an error. Yeah, not connected to registry. So no API client has been generated because it's not connected to an environment yet. It can't talk to registry. And that's fine. This one here does a version pass from NiFi system, and this will throw its own error if that doesn't work. So that's fine too. So I think we're happy with that. That's a really simple fix. It took us a little while. It's taken us an hour, but you know, I'm not that smart, so it takes a while to get through these things sometimes. So utils, just check that that's the only thing we're committing. Fix. Comment message, add fix for retrieving. I can't spell retrieving, I before E. Swagger.json from registry in an authenticated environment. And we will push that up for you, Ivan. Now what I can do, I think I can do another build for you and attach it to the PR. Oh, you can probably do your own build, can't you? I mean, you know, relatively straightforward. But let me do one just to be, you know, a polite person who is nice and helpful. Cool. A quick build. Be good. We should now have a distributable. We're good. Let's let me just pop that open in my Mac Finder so I can compress it. I'm going to do that off screen because there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that I shouldn't show to anyone. So PyCharm projects, NiPy, distribution. Let's compress that. You have to compress it because GitHub doesn't allow you to upload files that it doesn't think are accessible. So then we say, okay, go, updated distributable with fixed registry Swagger version check. And there we go. There you are, sir. Feel free to abuse that and let me know if that fixes the problem. Yay! I think for my Twitch channel I'll need like a push button thing for like the Kermit macro whenever something works. Yay! I grew up with that in New Zealand. It's what I'm used to now. That will do an automated build with Travis, which will take forever. Santa comes again. Yep. Reminds me though that Kermit and Santa, we introduced my nearly 4-year-old son to the Muppet Christmas Carol over Christmas, and it's now his favorite movie. I mean, any movie he's allowed to watch is immediately his favorite movie. But like he tells us about what happens in this movie, and it's very serious. It's very serious about how there's the two ghosts who are mean ghosts, and they don't want him to turn into a mean ghost, so they help him get better. And you know, we're Ratchet and Marley and Marley. It's really great. But he sings it now. He sings "We're Marley and Marley" ooh, when he's running around the house. It's brilliant. Really great. Cool. So that lets you test that pull request. Let's go look at some others. Pin Watchdog to latest version. Okay, I actually don't mind if Watchdog gets pinned as long as it's within the controls that I have. Wonder why that's failed to run. Let's have a nosy. Python 2.7 failed. And ooh, could not install depths. Invocation error. Just an invocation error. No matching distribution found for Watchdog equals 1.0.2. Interesting. So PyUp is telling us you must pin to 102, and Travis is saying I can't find that version. That's pretty funny. Let's go have a look. PyPy Watchdog. Hello, Watchdog. Yeah, so for Python 2.7, I do want to stick with less than 1.0. So somehow PyUp, which is running on the NiFi repo, has got confused about what's going on there. I think we've pinned it, so let's have a look. Let's close these. Yeah. Have a look at our requirements. We have not pinned it. Must be a depend. I don't know. We've pinned it here. Maybe I need to set PyUp to ignore for that, because it's going to want to do the latest version for Python 3, not recognizing that the implementation of NiPy wants to be compatible for 2 and 3. It's weird that it's not taken this in though. Is that just somehow not in the repo on this version, on this commit? So let's look at the repo at this commit. Yeah, we've said, you know, it's wanting to remove that and pin it to 102. So this is PyUp, just it's got bad logic. This is PyUp is bad. So what we'll do is we will commit this ignore command for PyUp. And it seems like this is a common thing, because I've had to say that before, where it should not do that for Twine either when we don't want to go above version 2. So I think we're going to add that. Should we add it to this branch, or should we add it to a new It's minor. We'll add it to this PR. Set pi up, which I know is not best practice, by the way, but I don't particularly fussed about that sort of tiny nuance. Set pi up to ignore watchdog as it must stay between versions to satisfy pi 2 and pi 3 compatibility. And yes, eventually we will no longer be worrying about Python 2 compatibility, but a lot of people are using this on Python 2, so right now we are being good little boys and girls. So I'll push that to this PR. I could cherry pick that into master, I just don't want to. Main. It's main now. Okay, so let's have a look at our other pull requests. I am going to just quickly edit my Slack message to say problem resolved. Add a token. Setting issue. Good to not have to have people answer me on Slack. All good. Let's look at this. Oh, Max. Let's do this one first. This one I think is quite straightforward. Typo. SPROC has no key called status. I think this is going to be failing for another reason though. Yeah, I think it's going to fail for the watchdog reason. No module aim util and milport lib. Yeah, I fixed that already. So we can ignore that. I think we probably just merged that one then. Funny thing that Travis does is it doesn't allow you to just hit back. It keeps on going, no, I've loaded lots of things. You definitely don't want to leave my website. It's really annoying. One of the reasons I'm leaving Travis. Just a pain in the ass. Let's have a look at the change. Please call that step. Yeah, and just in case that's not set. No, this is fine. We'll just merge this because I recognize what it is and it's a very straightforward thing. So let's merge that. Thanks for fix. And give it a nice little +1 here. Important for everyone to feel appreciated. Especially when they help some random dude with some random repository a month ago. Sorry for that. Been busy. Christmas, children, you know, lockdown. Technically, I had COVID. So I stayed the hell home. Alright, let's have a look at our other PRs. Are you in a position to test that, Ivan? Or are you sort of busy with some stuff? Because we could merge that today if that resolves your issues. We'll look at this next one. This PR adds support for SOX proxies. Yeah, cool. We love us some proxies. The check's going to fail probably because of the same issue. I could rerun them if I rebase this off the new thing if it's got the same issue. Yeah, no module name util. You are a legend. Thank you. And I hope whatever you are eating is tasty. Probably breakfast, right? Probably in the States. We did a smoked salmon on a toasted bagel with some scrambled egg this morning by request of the son. He wanted a fancy breakfast. Considering he has to be at school all day, I feel like giving him something fun in the morning is pretty legit. Okay, let's have a look at what has been changed here. So, in REST, fproxy and SOX not in proxy. Pasta for... Oh, okay, well, no, it's 3, it's lunch. That makes sense, yeah. As long as you're allowed to grate fresh Parmigiano on it, any pasta is fine. And I think also the pasta you don't have to cook for yourself is the best kind of pasta. So if you're being presented with pasta for lunch, then not really a loss, is it? So HTTP pool manager, yes. So we're going to have to extend this PR because, yes, see, I knew that would be true. Exactly how it's done. We'll have to extend this PR because he's directly modified the REST client, which is helpful, but we have to modify the templates that generate the REST client to include this. Otherwise, when we generate a new client for a new Swagger specification, this will not be included. But otherwise, this looks pretty straightforward. We add a dependency on PySocks, but that is a pretty standard thing to use. If proxy is defined and socks is not in proxy, then just use a standard proxy, which is the current behavior. If proxy and socks proxy, then use the socks proxy by a socks proxy manager. So this is using urllib3 socks proxy, but he has to add it as a dependency. That's kind of neat and interesting. Let's go have a look at the template or the REST interface, and I think all we'd need to do is just add that in there. Now I could post that as a review comment to his PR, or I could just do it myself. There's also no test for this, and it would be good if there was a test of some sort. Yeah, so using socks, but that is good. 6 days ago. I think what I'll do is I will ask Xyrix to well, let's have a look at this. I just think it'd be good to have some way of testing it. And maybe he knows of a simple way of testing that this works and works well. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward setup. So let's do that. Let's ask for the REST template to be updated and to see if he knows of a way to test it. So let's get a link to the REST template just to make it easy for him to find. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to contribute. So we'll copy that. Lovely, lovely. So can I ask you to consider two things, please? Firstly, is there some tests that can be easily integrated for this? Perhaps a socks proxy on a Docker container could be added to our Docker Compose test environment and appropriate tests run against that. Secondly, the way the client is, let's word this differently. The client is generated from Moustache templates, including the REST implementation. It would be good to include these changes in the template so that future clients do not drop them unexpectedly. You can find the template here. Both of these I am happy to help with if you like. Please let me know your thoughts. Want to be encouraging. This is a useful feature that I'm sure other people want. It's not something I am I've spent time with working with SOX proxies, so if he already knows a bunch about it, he could do it easily, then it'd be great if he can do it. If he come back and says, I don't have time for that, then I can look into it. So, that is good. The PS card killed your VS Code. I'm sure it's my fault, totally. And you should blame me and complain by flinging pasta at your screen. Obviously, that would help. Actually, what I should have done is I should have realized if you're eating pasta, there's probably sauce on that. So I should probably just tell some really bad jokes and try and get you to laugh so much that you spit sauce on your screen and then have to wipe it off. That would be just mean though, right? So I'm not going to do that. Okay, so we've reviewed our PRs, which is legit and good and makes me happy. How are we doing for time? Yeah, not too bad. Okay. Ooh. PyPy download link is broken. That's not good news. Go to PyPy, click on down. Oh, let's go have a look. Because I think that's auto-generated by PyPy, not by. Did he say click on the download button under project links? All right. Where does that link to? Archive 016.1.tar.gz. That is kind of weird. Maybe it's because the way I'm doing releases is not producing that link. Is that? I think that is a like a procedurally generated thing that PyPy just does. Let me move this off the screen and I'll log in and then see if there's anything I can do about it. Bringing it back. There we go. Yeah, so, it's there. The version is up. And we manage this. I can upload new files. I can yank the release. I can delete the release. I can view the release. Just the page. But they're right. The download link is the busted. So there's a download files. What does that do? And that points to, just looking at the URI at the bottom of the screen there. So that points to Python hosted, where it's basically been mirrored, which is cool. Does the homepage work? Yeah, that points to GitHub. And then download NiFi archive 016.1. Okay. Is there an archive thing for this? Projects, wiki, actions, setting. There's a releases page. Well, that's kind of different, right? Let's look at releases. There's 016.1. There's... Well, that's... Isn't that the same link? Oh, you got an error. What's this? HTTP responsibility, access denied due to unable to view Swagger, contact system administrator. Most likely missing some policies. Yeah, so for those Docker images, I run the bootstrap script, which bootstraps the policies. Let me show them to you. It is in security. Yeah. So this is essentially a lazy method because I got sick of having to manually do this, particularly when spinning up and down like Kubernetes pods for testing and stuff. So I just made a default set of policies that you would want to have if you're an administrator, which is basically all of them. And it sets up the policies, gives you full bucket access and everything else. Yeah, I've not had to retouch this for quite a while, so I couldn't tell you exactly how it all works off the top of my head. But it may just be you do not have that permission, as you say. Okay, cool. Keep us posted, man. So if I click on this link, I do get that file. What was the link on PyPy pointing to? So this is pointing to GitHub Jefferson NiFi archive 061.tar.gz. And this is pointing to GitHub Jefferson NiFi archive .zip. That's .tar.gz. But that link looks the same. Am I insane, chat? That link looks the same. Copy link address. So we've got this link versus this link. Let's play spot the difference. So we see https github.com Jefferson NiFi archive v016.1.tar.gz. One of them's v016.1 and one of them's just 016.1. Curiouser and curiouser. So this one is just 016.1. The one actually in the releases is v016.1 because it's using the tag. So what I think is the problem is that PyPy is looking at the just the straight version number there, and it's not got that v tag in front of it, which may or may not be like a standard thing you're supposed to do, but I can't necessarily change that unless I rename the file, because I don't think PyPy lets me set what that project links download points to. Let's ask the internet. PyPy change project download link. How to change download link. Can I do that? PyPy provides no such links. Louisa says can have multiple downloads. Pip install will do that. Yeah, that's just an upgrade control. So PyPy has somehow just got the URI wrong, which I find is a bit weird. Basics, my account, integrating administration. Can't manually upload. No, these are not any of these. This is just kind of, it feels like it's a weird thing that PyPy is doing that I just have no control over. What could I do? I guess I could make the build version available on the URL that PyPy is generating by mistake, right? Because that works. Download files is there. Download is the wrong URI. If I make it available with the thing that it expects rather than the thing that actually exists, then maybe that will work. So I did the build one there. That's fine. 016.1 here. Did not include a distributable. Naughty. I should do that. I think I'm going to flag that as this is a PyPy thing, not something I can actually fix. Kind of weird though. I mean, that's a bit disappointing.
Just wait for the tone.
So it appears the problem here is that PyPy has generated that URL and has got it wrong. If you look closely, the tag name for the release is B016.1, but PyPy is looking for 0.16.1, omitting the V at the front. Looking on PyPy, there seems to be no way to control this, but installs still appear to be working as expected.
If you need further assistance, enter pound
So I think this is just a peculiarity of their website. Cool. I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to mark it at the moment as will not fix, because I don't think that I can fix that. But I will wait and see, because he's taken the time to report it and let us know what's going on. So I think that is super helpful. This is your ticket, and we have not mapped it to the PR yet. So we could say fixed by, but we're up to 256 now, man. So I'm just going to tag it here, just so that we've got that cross-link from the issue. I'll obviously wait for you to finish your testing before we merge that. There's a bunch of other actions here that people want us to do. I put some of them on a milestone for version 17. Let's have a think about that. Prevent processes from overlapping. This was an enhancement to suggest a location. And as I said in the comment for that, I've actually got some example code for this, which is in a different branch called suggest object position, which we could just bring across and write some tests for. So that will be something we could look at next. Enable disable processes. I think this is a cascade function request. Yeah, enable disable on top level sort of function. I think that's kind of handy. So if you want to start processes, you could add an extra flag that says, if any of them are disabled, I want you to enable them just to save me the effort. You could also have a thing that says just disable all the processes in this process group. In the same way we have a, delete all queues in this process group or remove all children. So that's not too bad. Get controller. I thought we had fixed this. No, this is a different one. So this is where there's two main kinds of controller services in NiFi. There is the sort of top level ones like the reporting tasks, and then there is the processing controllers, things like connecting to a schema registry or whatever else like that. I have an implementation for the schema registry and processing ones, but not the top level ones. So this will just be extending that. That is worth doing. And then this one that you're looking at, Ivan. So, okay, that's not too bad. What I may want to do is I may want to do a release that has the authentication fixes. It's a significant enough change that it's probably worth putting in a separate release rather than just making it a bug fix to previous versions. Technically we can do that. We could roll back the fixes all the way to 14.3, but I doubt anybody is actually concerned about using the latest version of NiFi. We haven't removed features or anything like that. There's nothing breaking backwards. So fixing forwards is a lot less effort and unlikely to offend anybody. So I think I will do that. So what else should we worry about at the moment? Let's have a think. Don't need to worry about any of those. Let's have a look at the rest of these issues and see if there's any others. Sort by most recently updated. We'll see if there's any sort of things that we also might be able to pull in quickly. So we've talked about that. That's on the milestone 17 already. Create policies for a specific bucket. You created this one, Ivan. Would you add code for how it should work? Cannot create a policy for a specific bucket. Yeah, you should be able to. That would be a very useful thing to be able to do. This would require some significant testing implementation. Oh, you have made a suggestion, and it's a very simple one. You haven't attached a PR to this ticket, so I am going to assume that you have not done it yet, but it is quite a minor thing. We would just need to write a test that generates a policy at the root level and a different policy at the bucket level and checks that they both apply. Which doesn't seem too bad to do. That is working for you already. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll do a separate branch for that. I think that's a different thing, different area, different challenge to work on. How are we doing for time today? It's about 3:30. I'm just thinking about whether I have time to open up a new feature branch and start working on it now. Let me just have a look at my calendar. No, I've got to prep for customer call at 4 p.m. So I think actually I should shorten this session today to just the work we've done, which is good. We got a thing done. And then I'll carry on with this other stuff for release 17 into the weekend. So what I think we'll do is we'll close up a little bit early, and I'll go and do these other requirements for the day job that I get paid for, rather than the day job which is open source for everybody else. Ivan, if you want to ping back on that PR or issue once your tests are done to see whether that's resolved your problems, just see your message now. So I'll keep you posted with the policies thing. I don't know how to make the user more powerful than it is. It should be internet. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I will merge the PR once you tell me that things are good. I may add a test just to check that explicitly for future usage, that's working. I think that's worthwhile. Yeah, I should add a set of tests where it goes and checks all of these things against a secured environment, not just against a regular environment, which is why we wouldn't have caught that. So I should add a test for this. I'll make a note of that. I'll do that later. Okay, cool. Thanks for dropping in, guys. Thanks for hanging out on the stream. I hope you all have a very fine afternoon. Does this actually tell me who is on the stream? Doesn't. It says that there's people. It says there's 5 people. It doesn't actually tell me who those people are. There we go. Users in chat. So, cool. Well, that's not too bad. Another viewer, Commander Root, have this too, Manja, Ivan, Kodiak Roger, and Silly Gnome 225. Cool. Well, thank you all of you for dropping in. Much appreciated. And Ivan, I'll look out for your message later. Otherwise, have a great afternoon, people. See you soon.
And I think if you want to grow as any sort of creative person, you need to finish things.